today, instead of a beer babble, we're doing a boob babble. So today I wanted to talk about something that is gaining approval but still has a lot of stigma against it, and that is the fact that a lot of people, my generation and younger, are very much choosing consciously, actively, to not have kids. This is something, especially as a young woman, I am informed is a mistake. It's something I'm told quite vehemently and quite passionately by some people, that it's something I have to do. It's not. It's just not. There's a lot of well-intended feedback that you'll get when you tell people, no, I don't plan on having kids. You know, they'll tell you things like, well, it's the best thing I ever did, you know, it's my greatest accomplishment, you know, you don't know real love until, which that last one, is it? I don't think that's accurate, and it's kind of insulting, really, because it's like, oh, you sweet summer child, you don't know. I'm an adult. I'm 31 years old. Thank you. I think I can make up my own mind about this in a well-informed manner. Now, there are a lot of people that, like I said, are kind of aggressive about this, as far as telling you have to have kids. Usually they're older and stuff, but it's, you know, like I said, I'm well informed on this decision. I'm not, you know, not having kids because of some flippant choice or some, you know, mood swing or whatever. I am doing this very purposely. So, something I think a lot of people don't realize is having kids, being pregnant, giving birth is still very dangerous. There are so many things that can go wrong during the birth, which is kind of known, especially after like Serena Williams and especially finding out just how dangerous it is for women of color to give birth, because people don't believe them when they say something's wrong. And there are a lot of stats that prove that, not as just an inclination, but as fact. This is documented fact. You know, there's blood clots that can happen, there's bleeding. I mean, when the placenta detaches, if it doesn't detach in just the right way, you will bleed to death. And in those situations, there's not a whole lot the doctors can do, because they have to find the bleed very, very quickly, if they can, and, you know, and fix it if they can. And, you know, so it's, you know, there, so many things can go wrong. And that's just the fatal stuff. You can get tears front and back, you know, and you can prolapse, multiple things. There's so many things during the birthing process that can go wrong. And then there are just things during the pregnancy that are quite typical, that aren't exactly things going wrong. They're just things you have to deal with, or maybe they're just seen as so common, and so you should expect this, that they're not considered things going wrong. They're just sort of complications, but they're just expected consequences, part of the pregnancy. So things like being temporarily diabetic, or permanently. You might permanently become diabetic. There are, you know, food sensitivities you could develop that may or may not go away. You can have rashes. That's actually quite common. I didn't know that until a friend of mine got pregnant and she started having that issue. And there's something called baby brain, which I never really heard of before, and I assumed it was just, you know, when you start transferring to mother mode. No, it's your brain physically changes. The water content in your brain significantly changes. The literal shape and context of your brain on a measurable level changes. And this causes things to shift that may never go away. So, for instance, things like memory. Your memory could, again, either temporarily or permanently become worse. The person I talked to, they talked about the memory loss, just being a little forgetful, was temporary, But still, even after their pregnancy, they stumble a lot more, they bump into things a lot more, so they've become permanently more clumsy. And I'm like, that's great, that's a great side effect. Those are things just at a physiological standpoint, just as far as the pregnancy and the birthing goes, that I'm like, okay, no thank you. Just some of the things. There are so many other things, oh my god, that can go wrong. Anatomically, physiologically, that can go wrong. And that's not even like a snowflake on the iceberg. That's not even an ice chip off the iceberg is maybe a better way to put it. Like that's barely any of the stuff that can happen. And the thing is then when you get to the point where people are telling you have to have kids, they're completely ignoring all of those health risks. They're completely ignoring all of those risks that you will be taking. They don't really care that you're going to be putting your life on the line just to fill some societal standard. They don't care about your personal health and safety because you have something that they think you need to do. And just the audacity. So I've had a lot of people over the years, obviously, just being a female saying, I don't want to have kids, telling me, oh, you're wrong. I've never once regretted my choice. I just don't, I'm so awkward around kids. Like, I love my nieces and nephew. I absolutely love them. I'm so awkward though. I'm so awkward. Like, my mom years ago, a friend of mine had a kid and she went to pass me the baby and I was like, I was so weird. I've never changed a diaper in my life. I've babysat. Thankfully my cousin, bless her heart, changed the diapers both times. That was a long time ago. And I haven't babysat that much, and I was basically just going by the seat of my pants, and now, that being said, I don't necessarily dislike kids, like, as a whole. Like, I'd rather not, but, like, honestly, that's just true for people in general. Like, I just rather not people. So, man. But kids tend to be drawn to me and tend to really like me, which I think is kind of weird. But I think about it and, like, I don't really coddle them and I don't talk down to them. I don't tell them, oh, you'll get it when you're older, like, bullshit. Like, because the biggest thing I think, the biggest mistake I think people make when interacting with kids is assuming that kid is like a subgenre of people. It's not really true. Kids are inexperienced adults. They're not stupid. They're not idiots, okay? They just don't know. It's like me with astrophysics. I have no idea. I don't know. I could learn if you explained it to me in a way that maybe. But, yeah. So, even though I'm not the biggest fan of kids, for me, I still think so, and that's the other, I think, stereotype that goes with this, or misconception, is that when you personally don't want to have children, it must mean you don't like children. And for me, like, I'm just, like I said, kind of awkward around them and don't really know what to do, but, like, they still like me. But I'm still very encouraging of other people having kids. Like, a friend of mine, she was actually thinking about delaying having a kid, delaying having kids and starting their family. And I discouraged her from this delaying. I was like, no, do it now, because there was a hike they wanted to take, and I was like, you're healthy, you can do it pregnant. Like, you don't have to wait. Go ahead and have kids. It's something that she's wanted to do her whole life. Like, both of my brothers, obviously, were gonna be great dads. And sure enough, now they both have kids, and they're great dads. They're like the best parents. They're so good. They're just superheroes. Especially my eldest, he's done a lot. He's done so well as a dad. Oh my gosh, he deserves those world's greatest dad mugs for sure. It's gonna be true. So I'm not like anti-kids like as a blanket sweep. I'd rather not, because like I said, for me, the health risks don't level out. And lifestyle wise, when you have a kid and you want them to grow up to not be a psycho killer, you have to shower them with a lot of love and attention, and you have an obligation, yes you do, to make sure that they are able to achieve as much of their potential as you can possibly facilitate. So you really do have to shift your whole life with them being at the center of it. You brought them into existence. Their well-being is entirely on you. If you don't like that idea, maybe you should contemplate why you're actually having kids. Because I know for me, if you're thinking, I want to have kids just cause or whatever, no. If you're thinking, I want to have kids because I can be a good parent and I can give them a good life and I can raise them right and I can better the world through them and make them a great version of themselves, great. Obviously, there might be some debate about that. Feel free to hash it out in the comments below. You know, there's no one picture for a perfect parent. There really isn't. So, a little bit of story time while we're here. As I was saying before, how some people can get quite aggressive about informing you that you're wrong as an adult about your own life choices. Especially when you're a woman that says, I am not having children and I am happy with that decision. Oh, does that set people off? And not just for like a moment, like this isn't a one-time argument. It goes on. Let me tell you. Story time. Okay. So, I have worked at gyms a lot. I actually have an entire fitness channel that I kind of go off and on with for now, called Train for Your Story, because everyone's story is different. So I've worked at a lot of gyms, and at this particular gym, I worked in the office as well as doing some group fitness stuff, mostly. Did a little bit of personal training, not very much. And this guy was retirement age, and he was very much a regular. He could do little spurts of things, so he would do some stuff and have to sit for a while, and then do some stuff, and then he would kind of, after he'd fatigued himself, would have to sit for quite a while to kind of let his joints, you know, reduce their inflammation and whatnot, so that way he could actually leave. And of course, in that time, working in the office, building up, you know, that community, you know, you talk. And as time went by, you know, asking me about, like, because I was living with my now husband, and like, oh, when are you gonna have kids, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, actually, we're not gonna have kids. He did not like that answer. He wasn't mean, but he was very insistent. He informed me I was going to have kids, and that I was wrong to not want to have kids. And after that came up, after I said, oh, we're not going to have kids, every single time we talked, he brought it up and informed me that we were going to have kids. Every single time. This went on until I left. So that was, we moved. So that's, no, actually I got my job at the chiropractic office. So, I mean, a good month and a half, almost 2 months, every time I saw him, he would inform me that no, I needed to have kids and I would not be complete without them and I would not be happy without them. And he even went so far as to tell me I had to give him my now husband's contact information so he could have a sit down with him to convince him, my now husband, that he wanted to have kids so that he could convince me that we had to have kids and that I had to give birth. Why do you care? Why do you care? I would always try to just, you know, shift the conversation to something else. And But this is something, it's not that uncommon. A lot of the times when you do tell people, especially older people, that you aren't having kids, that you've made the decision to not have kids, they interrogate you, really, about what went wrong with your childhood. Absolutely nothing. What's wrong with you emotionally? I mean, a lot, but that's got nothing to do with it. And just like going on like, something must be wrong, or you must be misinformed, or basically, you're wrong, I'm right, you will make this possibly life-ending, most definitely life-altering choice because of reasons that are quite superficial. So, in my mind, because things like, but babies are so cute. Okay, yeah, so I can watch YouTube. Like, it's different. I can visit babies if I really wanted a baby fix, which, like I said, I'm super awkward with kids, especially infants. Like, I'm not gonna, I don't interact with them too much because I'd rather not drop them or break their neck, because that thing is a floppy little spaghetti that is easily snapped. No, I'm not doing that. And just the audacity to think that I am a grown woman making an informed choice, but I'm still wrong just because your choice in this matter would be different. And it really comes down to that, of people forcing their lifestyle choices on other people. This is what I've done that made me happy, therefore everyone needs to do it. No. Just like gardening isn't for everyone, just like, careers aren't for everyone. Gardening was a bad example, but those life-altering, marriage isn't for everyone. That's a life-altering event. Marriage isn't for everyone. Tattoos aren't for everyone. That's on you forever. I don't encourage people to have tattoos. I very much like having tattoos. It's great. It's painful, depending on where you get it, and many other things, but that's permanent. You have that forever. It's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. And I don't push it on people. I know plenty of people, like my husband included, not interested in tattoos. And I'm like, all right, they're not for everyone. Kids, not for everyone. We very much want a lifestyle that's not typical. We don't want to do 9 to 5 from 25 to 65 and live that Oreo life where it's just the two of us, then kids, just the two of us. That's not what we're interested in. That's not what I'm interested in. Just because that's what worked for you doesn't mean that's going to work for someone else. So your happiness is not someone else's happiness, and someone else's happiness is not going to be the same as yours. Things that, we need to understand that different people are different. I don't know why this is such a crazy concept, but that's really what it comes down to. Is you can't just do things automatically, and you can't just apply what worked for you to other people. So when someone says, I as an adult have made an informed decision, respect that. Okay? Just respect that, because that's the other thing, is looking back, having these conversations with people, I was braced for them. I was expecting them. And the fact that it's that normal for that kind of response to happen the moment I say I'm not having kids, that's weird, actually, when you actually think about it. So let's, with everything, not just in this, but with everything, let's respect people's choices when they are informed choices. Let people live their lives. There are many, many reasons people want kids. There are many, many reasons people don't want kids. And let's let people live their lives and find happiness in their own way. Happiness looks different to everyone. Beauty looks different to everyone. Christmas lights and flowers and Van Gogh all look extremely different, but they're all beautiful. And we need to realize that that kind of beauty and therefore happiness applies to all of us as well. Our beauty, our happiness, our life well lived is going to be very different from everybody else, and that's just fine. So Thank you for listening to this little boo babble, and make sure to comment your thoughts on this. That could get interesting. Like if you found this informative, if you agree. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss a single chapter of this wonderful story that we're reading together, that we're living together. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. About